Okay, chill out. It's been 5 months, I know. Okay, so now we're in Scratch, which is an online platform that you can basically make games in block based programming. And you can see all of the projects that other people have made with this platform. Okay, so now we're gonna go to my project, which is in my stuff. Okay, so our first script, which is the player. Now the player is which is the main character that the user will control. So we're gonna create a block called define like movement x and movement y. Then we're gonna go to x and y of those values, and then basically my cursor. Okay, and then basically if we are not touching the trees or the ocean or basically any other kind of like object, then we're gonna change the y velocity by y and x by x, and then we're gonna go to x00 so that we don't like change our position, which will like kind of jumble up everything. So when green flag is clicked, we're gonna hide it, and then there are basically 3 modes to this, which I'll be explaining. Okay, so basically when we reach like the first thing, we're gonna set the timer. We're gonna make it go back to the first layer, and then like we're gonna show it, and then switch costume to costume 1, set x and y velocity to 0, and we're gonna go forward by 3 layers. So and then go to x00 for each of them. So we're always gonna point towards the mouse pointer because that's really essential. If we click W, A, S and D, we're gonna like change the movement. I hope you can understand it because it's extremely simple. And copy this like for basically the whole thing. Okay, so now we move on to the minimap, and everyone knows that to make a good game you need to have a minimap. Well, I just said that, but still. So a minimap is basically in the name, it's just a mini map, and it basically shows the merchant and the player so that you don't get lost while like playing the game, because I don't want that. It will basically mimic the player and whatever it's doing, for example the x and y position and the direction of the player. So when green flag clicked hide, because this is the original copy, we want to hide that. Then when I receive impossible, speedrun and peaceful, there are 3 modes, as I just said in the player script. We're gonna do the same thing for each of these 3 modes, and because I don't know how to simplify this, just kidding, I'm good. Go to x and y value of these, which is basically the corner of the screen as per adjusted by me. Set ghost effect to 100 so that we can basically hide it but in a different way. Switch costume to costume 1, which is basically just like yes, and we're gonna create clone of myself and go to the front layer. Now create clone of myself is gonna do the same thing for like these 3 things are gonna do the same thing, which is this, and we're gonna want to show this. Switch costume to costume 1 again and repeat 20, change ghost effect by -5. Now if you multiply -5 by 20, you get -100. So you can see we set this to 100, now it's -100, which means that we can basically see it. Now that's the minimap. Now the player hands, it's basically just the player but hands, and I don't know why I did this actually for the plastic bag, but yeah. So when green flag clicked hide, set goes to 100 for the defining, as I just said. Impossible, peaceful, speedrun, go to black back layer, show repeat 20 -5, set player hands x to x position of player hands, which basically means that it will go to the x player, and you can see that it is actually kind of inclined to the right direction a bit, so that the movement, like the rotation of it, can be fixed. And forever go to player and point towards mouse pointer, and you can see it's kind of refined like this. Now the trees, it's basically I just like duplicated the level script and just put it for the trees and added some refining, such as basically this thing and the small dot, as I just explained in the level, to like kind of make the same height or size of the trees as the level. And I also put them in the mini map, which is kind of pretty cool. Yeah, so when I receive impossible, go to back layer, show, go to x00, repeat 20, change goes by -5, switch costume to costume 2. Now this is actually a workaround, switch costume to costume 2, which is basically a dot. And then we're gonna set the size of this costume to 500 and then switch it back to costume 1 so that this costume is like enlarged. This is actually a bug which I exploited. uh, Go forward 5 layers and forever go to x0 minus x velocity and 0 minus y velocity, which basically inverts that, and so that it's actually making sense, and just duplicate this for the rest of the things. Now the hitbox, it's just the same thing, like bro, like yes, except I made a go to back layer, and then it's like the hitbox that the player can interact with, for example like this, and so that it will make the trees more realistic. By if you go behind it, it works. And the plastic bag, I don't know, man. Minimap player, okay, so this is just a shortened version of that. And oh damn, yeah, oh, it's just the same thing, yes. So this is the three things. So when we start at show, repeat 20, -5, go to minimap, wait 0 seconds, go to front layer, point in direction of player, so that it seems fluid. And this is a really big script, and I actually just got this from YouTube because I don't understand this, but actually I do. So exposition of level times -1, which will basically make it the negative of the level. Basically it means that it will move with our player. Times 0.035 is basically the speed or the rate at which this moves, which is 0.035 times the speed or the change of the player, plus 188, which is the position of x. For example, if it's right here, so if we add 188, it will go down here, sorry, I mean like in the right. And the same thing for y, and -144, that it can go down to that. And repeat this thing for like everything else. So now we move on to the plastic bag. When green flag clicked, we need to go back to the back layer, hide it, set ghost effect to 100, and clone x, basically a script in which the position of the plastic bag will be determined as a variable. And we're going to define clone x as x and clone y as a y, and we're going to set that to clone x is equal to x and clone y is equal to y, and then we're going to create a clone of that. This is basically what I explained before in earlier scripts as well. So basically I'll just scroll over here. When I start as a clone, show and pick trash to 0, which is basically saying that we are not picking up the trash right now. And then a forever loop of a normal state, which is basically how the plastic bag will be like on the ground. And if we touch the player hands, we're gonna set pick trash to 1 and set it to player pick up, and then to the normal state. So basically set pick trash to 0. Repeat until we're not touching the player hands, touching the player hands. Go to x clone x minus x velocity, which is basically the scrolling script that I explained before. And if we're touching the edge, we're gonna hide the thing, otherwise we're gonna show it. And if we're touching the blue color, then basically we're gonna delete this clone because it is in like the ocean and we don't really want that. So I'm just gonna scroll, and now the player pickup. So we're gonna repeat this until we are not touching the player hand. We're gonna set the x to player hands -35 and player hands y -20. It's basically kind of like that, so you can understand the rest. And then it's just a simple script of money is equal to 50. If money is greater than 50, then we basically won. And just copy paste it for like 3 modes, as I explained later. Sorry, before I mean. So now generate the world. Very simple. This is just a script that I showed on YouTube and explained before as well, so please understand. Now the merchant is pretty close to the player. We're gonna set merchant x to x and merchant y to y, which is basically mimicking the player, but it's like its own thing. So when green flag click, set money. You can understand that. This is the speech for this. If the distance to the player is basically very close, then we're gonna activate it, otherwise we're not gonna activate it, and we're gonna wait until we are like in that range. And then we're gonna broadcast the start thing, and we're gonna stop the script and copy paste it for the 3 modes. And as we give the plastic bags to the merchant, it's gonna increase the money by 1. And if it's basically 50 or if it's more than 50, then we won basically. So now let's go on to the minimap. I have explained the minimap of the player before, and this is just a simpler version of that, so you can refer back. Now the objective, it seems complicated at first, but it's actually pretty easy. So we have created a new block of gliding X and gliding Y, which I saw from YouTube from the simple like algorithm. And the 100 cash objective, basically yeah, what my cursor is doing right now. And yeah, you can understand that it's pretty simple because I've been like copy pasting that for like the whole game and the 3 modes. And you can see the menu, we're gonna create buttons for the menu. And basically maybe I shouldn't delete that, yeah. And then basically another block, and you can please understand this. I'm just gonna like move around my cursor for that. This is the difficulty. I can't die right now. We're gonna set it to 1 and create clone of myself, yes. And then copy paste it for 3 of the scripts. This is the event screen. It's extremely simple, so I'm just gonna skip this. When we receive that objective, then we're gonna activate it, otherwise we're not gonna activate it. Now the difficulty, this is actually a bit long as you can see, but it's just copy pasting the same code for the 3 different modes and 3 different types of that. So this is basically a simple algorithm I saw on YouTube. It's like just the same algorithm that's repeating in the entire game. Like that's the main thing about it. So we're gonna build 4, which is basically 4 buttons, and hide them and set the ghost effect to 100. Then we're gonna make them go to the front layer and show and change ghost effect by -10. So -10 to 10 is -100, so it'll be visible. And that's the block. And if the clone number is 1, which is basically the background, the ID is 1, then we're gonna switch the costume to main screen. We're gonna rotate it a bit so that it gives us that immersive feeling. And if it's 2, it's the first button, which is a start, and copy paste that code. And this is set size to that algorithm. It's basically to increase the attractiveness of the button. And this is copy pasting for like everything else. Then clone number 1, 2 and 3, it's like a disappearing script. And the thumbnail, that's just like a blank thing. So that's the code. Thanks for watching.